Hello students. The previous chapter population part 1, what we had learned was very basic, useful and informative. Today we are going to start with population part 2. We are going to go into much more detail and different concepts are going to be learned. So let's begin with population part 2. Now what does this population part 2 talk about? Population is also considered as a human resource. The physical and intellectual characteristics of the population affect the development of a region. The development of a region is dependent on how human resources are used like other natural resources. What does this first paragraph say? As natural resources are useful to us, human resources also are useful. I am a human resource. As a teacher, I am a human resource. Now, if these human resources don't utilize the natural resources as well as the environment, it's of no use. We won't come to know how population is using these natural resources and the environment and the situation they are in. The human economic activities also develop with reference to human resources. In fact, if human resources are not developed efficiently, the use of other resources also gets adversely affected. Now, the natural resources have to be utilized in a proper way. They don't have to get depleted because natural resources take a million of years and we've got them free. So, it's our responsibility as humans to take care of these resources. Considering the issues, the population structure, the sex ratio, the literacy rate are studied in population geography. Now let's understand what is population geography. Population geography focuses on the number, composition, distribution of human beings on the Earth's surface. How human beings are well placed, distributed, what is their composition, what are they in number, their gender, their age structure, everything is taken into consideration on the Earth's surface. Population geographers are interested in population changes, both growth and movement, especially as they relate to the Earth's environment and natural resources. Now, what are these geographers who study population? They are interested in both the growth as well as the movement, especially as they related to the Earth's environment. We are living in an environment which is on planet Earth. There are some resources which are available for us, some natural resources which we can use in a ethical, proper way. So this is in terms with population geography. A population composition. The composition is the structure of the population. What is population structure and what topics come into it? The composition is the structure of a population in terms of age, gender and their properties such as marital status and education. The two main indicators, key indicators of population composition are age and gender. We are going to go into detail later. Now, demographics use population pyramids. You all can see a figure. These are called population pyramids. We are going to learn about population pyramids today more in detail to describe age and gender-wise distribution of population. Means there is age also as well as there is gender also. The y-axis in the center of this graph shows age group. The line, there's something written between the blue and the red graph. That line is the y-axis. The age group is over there. X-axis shows the population or percentage of population of the age group. The length of bars show the number of percentage population. Now the male population to the left and the female population to the right. What is population pyramid? We saw the diagram. Now, what does this show? What is the meaning? It is a diagram that gives information about the proportion of males and the proportion of females in each group. Now, the proportion is divided into various categories. Young people, which are from 0 to 14. Working people, which are from 15 to 19. Proportion of elderly people is 60 plus. So there are three kinds of proportion. Now all these three contribute in their own way as a population. The young population is our future. We always say you are our future. The students, you are shaping your, nurturing your, so that you have a better, bright future. Once you are matured enough, you have that understanding, you want experience, you come into the working category. So there is a place in life wherein you are working, you are making a living, you are uplifting your standard of living, you are creating a job profile. That comes into the working people. As years pass by, what happens is your health does not permit you as much as you would want to. There are many people who work. There are some benefits, there are some incentives, there are some retirement policies which come for the elderly people. Why? Because they are dependent lot. Basically, the young and the elderly people are the dependent lot on the working population. So the force on this working population cannot be much. This is the whole idea about understanding why young people and elderly people are so dependent on the working population. Because they are very young, small, they don't have maturity, they don't have understanding, they don't have experience, they are going through the whole process of education. Elderly, because they have health issues, they are not medically that fit. There are policies which do not allow the elderly to work in certain areas, so they also become dependent. Now, each pyramid tells us a story about the past, present and future of a country and its people. Now, what does this say? Each pyramid, there are different kinds of pyramid which we will be learning. Now, these pyramids tell us something what has happened in the past, what was the population in the past, right now what it is in the present. Now the present also depends upon the past. There's some data which we derive from the past. How the present is going to shape the future. So it tells us about all the tenses of country and its people. Key things to know about population pyramid. Population is divided into 5-year age groups. Horizontal line represents the male and female group. The age groups are divided into 3 groups. We saw that young dependent, working population, elderly dependent. Now, example, young dependent is 0 to 14 students who are studying in school or junior colleges. Working population is your parents and your elder brothers. Elderly dependent are your grandparents, so they become dependent population. Population is divided into males and females. When we talk about the sex ratio or the gender, we are talking in those terms, males and females. The percentage of each age sex group is given. Now the factors affecting population pyramid. In all the factors, there are many factors which affect population, but which affect the population pyramid, we know fertility is related to birth rate, death rate is there, migration as immigration and emigration. So this is a whole new concept. Migration is a concept, different concept which we are going to learn. A disease outbreak. Now, when there is what we are right now in, it's a pandemic. What happens in a pandemic? You are very well aware of. natural disasters, tsunami, there could be different other natural tornadoes. So they also affect the population pyramid. Earthquakes for that matter, mm, volcanoes for that matter. So they affect the population in a different way. The whole dynamic changes if these things take place. Now look at how a population pyramid looks. Just have a look at that. There's a diagram in front of you. Vertical axis, age group. Up, it's written male and female. Down, if you see, horizontal axis, percentage number. So the population in millions is calculated down in the horizontal axis, vertical axis, age groups are given. Between those two bars, as I said, there are the age groups written. Now what happens is, if you look at it, it looks like a mountain. As you will have seen, it looks like a mountain and it's tapering towards the top. There are 0 to 4, 5 to 9. Let's begin from below. 10 to 14 is the young dependents, as I spoke to you. So this is a larger section. 15 to 19, 20 to 24, 25 to 29, 35 to 49, 50 to 54, till 55 to 59 is the working population. Working population, the population on whom we are thriving upon. The young and the elderly are dependent upon, whether it's the male and the female. They are working population. 60 to 64 till 80 plus. Then it goes on. People can live around about 100 years also. So that is the elderly population, males and females. So I hope you all got an idea of how a population pyramid looks like. Now, what does the shape of the population pyramid tell us? It tells us information of birth and death rate. It is dependent on information about the birth and the death rate. They have to have the data about the birth rate and the death rate. Information of life expectancy, how much on an average a person lives in a particular area or a region. So we've spoken about life expectancy, people living in a particular country or a place. Now I want to develop a population pyramid of a particular country. I'm going to study about their birth rate, their death rate. I'm going to study about that particular place, and I'm going to get some information about that particular area or that country, town, city, with regards to birth rate and death rate. Now, how do you read a population pyramid? Read the title, example, country or city or racial group. Comment on general shape of the pyramid. There are different shapes which we'll be studying now, and we'll get to know what are the different shapes and how do we study them. The title is written, whether it's the country or the city or which group does it belong to. Note the proportion of people in various age groups. You are going to look at the proportion of the age groups and you are going to make a writing or a note of it. Note the sex ratio also as the proportion. Now with all this information, lastly what you are going to do is interpret the data. You are going to, as the information you've got, you are going to have your own interpretation of the data you have collected of that particular country, city or racial group. Now, what are the different types of population pyramid? The different types of population pyramid is triangular shaped, beehive shaped, rectangular shaped. Now these shapes are controlled by birth rate and migration. So there are three types of population pyramids. We are going to study those now. Triangular shaped pyramid is a broad-based pyramid. Look at the figure. Have a better understanding. Keep this figure. If this is imprinted in your mind, you will be able to solve any kind of pyramid and the questions related to it. It is also called broad-based pyramid. What does this say? The broad-based pyramid, it has high birth rate, narrow top. If you look at the top, it has a narrow top. Small elderly population, there is high death rate. Proportion, large proportion of young people, high young dependency ratio. The bottom line shows the young dependency 0 to 14. Sex ratio is balanced pyramid, balanced sex ratio. Both sides, if you all see male and female, there is a balance. This is a beehive shaped pyramid. Now if you look at the upper portion, it's tapering. In the middle, it is a little expansive, and bottom also, it remains the same, equal. What is B-shaped pyramid? This is like it looks like a rocket. It has a narrow base, low birth rate, slow population growth. It is very slow. It is a balanced pyramid. Both sides, it's a balanced pyramid. The proportion, large population, proportion of working population. In between, what you all see, those bars from the left and the right, they are large, expansive. That is the working population. So it's large, which are economically active. So when the large population is economically active, you can see the middle bars raising quite high. Rectangular shaped pyramid. This is, they're studying about Netherlands. This is a rectangular shaped pyramid. What does this say? Rectangular shaped pyramid, it is zero population growth. It has a narrow base. The birth rates are very low. Life expectancy is high. Example, 80 plus. Low death rate. Bars of equal length. The bars are of equal length in both sides. This also has a balanced sex ratio. Now, apart from these types, there are three general profiles of population growth. This is also very important when you are learning about population pyramids. What is rapid growth, slow growth, zero population, or decreasing population? How does this also play a part in population? Rapid growth, the name itself suggests, indicated by a pyramid with large percentage of people in the younger ages. So this shows that there's a large percentage of people at the younger age, that's 0 to 14. Slow growth, reflected by a pyramid with a smaller proportion of the population at the younger ages. So when there's slow growth happening at the younger age population, it shows slow growth. Zero population or decreasing population or diminishing population also. It is shown by roughly equal numbers of people in all age groups tapering off gradually, means reducing, going on reducing at the older ages. So when you all see, there was a narrow village which was related to the elderly population. It is zero population, decreasing population, or diminishing population. We learned this also. Rapid population. We can see this distinctive pyramid-like shape to this graph, which displays a high birth rate and a high death rate. If you all see, this shows a high birth rate and high death rate, that is rapid growth. Slow growth. We can see the growth rate is reflected in the more square-like structure or rectangular structure of the pyramid. As we spoke about the beehive pyramid. In the United States, the population is growing at a very slow rate. The United States is an example for slow growth rate. Now, negative growth. The population is growing negatively, means the elderlies are even more there as compared to the other populations in the world. As of 2015, Japan is experiencing a negative population growth. As Japan's age-sex pyramid shows, the country has huge number of elders. Today's scenario, if you all ask me to give you an example, Germany also is struggling with that. A huge number of elderly and middle-aged adults. And the country is experiencing a dearth. A dearth means a vacuum. They need more young generation in the number of babies and children. In fact, Japan has experienced a record low number of births over the past 4 years. Now, Japan has its own issues because though it is technically sound, it has a population which is very small and it's a non-working population also. Non-working population is the elderly dependent. Who's going to look after? How are they going to work? How are they going to help to run the economy? It's not possible. So what do? They need people. They are giving incentives. They are giving perks. They are giving facilities to the younger generation so that they can boost them, motivate them to have a happy economy, a pleasant economy. Now, in Germany also, the situation has become that the elderly population is quite a bit and they are struggling with the population. That's why there's a lot of immigration, there's a lot of outsourcing also happening. There are a lot of laws and facilities given to people who migrate to Germany at a level where they can contribute to the economy. So Japan we know, and yes, the mortality rate is quite low. People live longer over there. I mean, the life expectancy is quite good in Japan because of the given factors what we are in, the situation, the circumstances, or it could be genetic, it could be because of the environment, because of the lifestyle. So that also makes a lot of difference. So these rapid growth, slow growth and negative growth we have studied. Now, the base of the graph represents the children population while it represents the old people. A large size of the population in the age group of 15 to 59 years indicates the chances of having a large independent working population. As I said, this young population and dependent population is thriving upon 15 to 59. You all can see your fathers, you all can see your mothers who are working in companies, offices, and really working hard. So they are contributing to the family, they are contributing in a way to the economy, to the country. So this is the independent working population. They are independent. They are not depending on someone for their house to run. On the other hand, if the number of children in 0 to 15 is high, the dependency ratio will be high. Now, a population where, like taking for example Sudan, they have a population which is they have a young population which is very high. So they are dependent, and the parents also aren't working because they are not many job opportunities, they are not employed, they don't have a better standard of living. So the dependency ratio automatically increases, and then there is no upliftment towards the standard of living of those citizens. The elderly also, they are living on what facilities the government gives them. The food, the shelter is not up to the mark. So this goes on and on for years and years together. And to get over a change requires a lot of years also to shape the country. Similarly, a growing population in the age group of 60 plus indicates greater expenditure for medical and health facilities for the aged population. Now, what does this do? A growing population in the age group of 60 plus. You all have grandmothers, grandfathers at home. They couldn't keep well because their bodies aren't responding in a way which they could contribute to the economy or to the house also. So this creates a medical expense. Now this creates out of love. Yes, we have a responsibility. We need to take care of our elders 100%. but the medical expenses also matter. And if you are willing to do so nicely, you will continue to take care of these elders. Now, the medical and health facilities, there are people who are very economically backward. They can't afford. You all can see in our own country, there are people on roads who have just been abandoned. So the government takes them in these shelter homes. There are different organizations. There are these seva sanस्थाs which take care of these people, and some of these organizations are government aided. So it costs the government also. Now there are hospitals, municipality hospitals, schools. As there are schools and municipality hospitals also where these are government aided and they take care of the elderly. So what happens is, take for that matter, if this elderly population is just growing on and on and on, and what happens is they are dependent. So it's a burden on the government also to look after them at various levels in hospitals, because they'll need medicines, they'll need beds, they need nurses to look after them. So they have to keep this medical facility, they have to keep them running. So this becomes a problem. Now the three main types of population pyramid. We are going to learn about expansive, constructive, stationary in detail. Now, till now what we learnt was population geography, population composition, what is the age structure, what is the definition of age structure, what is the definition of population pyramid. What are the different types of population pyramid? Triangular, beehive, rectangular pyramid. There are three profiles what we learned: rapid growth, negative growth, slow growth. I gave you all examples about that. We'll move on further and we are going to learn about expansive,